Probably every filmmaker sooner or later wants to buy a slider. These days we have a lot of different solutions on the market, and differently than a few years ago, not all of them cost a small car. Let's take a look at one of the more affordable ones. In this video I will review Zeapon Micro2 E800 motorized slider. And make sure to watch it until the end of this video, because together with Zeapon we have a great giveaway for you, in which you can get this slider for free. Slider can be useful for interview shooting, some product videos or more general studio work, maybe real estate video, and of course something that's my specialty, time-lapse photography. New time-lapsers, after they learn how to shoot time-lapse on a tripod, want to add some movement to the camera. As I've seen online, the first choice is usually the device to pan the camera during time-lapse, like for example Zeapon Genie Mini. Personally, I don't like shots with only panoramic movement. And if I need to do such things, I use my gimbal. It would be much better choice to buy a motorized slider. While talking about Zeapon slider, I will let you know what is important in the slider and what you should consider when choosing the best one for you. Micro2 slider is an Edelkron-like construction, which means that the slider is shorter than the maximum length that the camera can travel on it. My version is 61 cm long, and the total travel distance for the camera is 94 cm. Of course, there are pros and cons of such solution. The most important advantage is that you have a shorter slider to carry than you would have with a typical 1 meter slider. Cons? If you've watched my Zeapon motion controller review, you know I'm a fan of their solution, mostly because I can use different slider lengths with the same motors. This allows you to use modular sliders, in which you can adjust the length of the slider just by adding more rails. On the other hand, one slider with built-in motor is a little faster to use and set up. Also, drive belt feels just slightly more precise than a rope in Zeapon. I mean, Zeapon motor is pretty precise, especially in Genie 2, but it depends on how you attach the rope, if it's stretched well and so on. Here, the belt is positioned by the manufacturer. And if you want to master motion-controlled time-lapse or any other kind of time-lapse or hyperlapse photography, join my Hyperlapse Academy. There's over 6 hours of detailed time-lapse and hyperlapse training, director's commentary series in which I reveal how I shot my most awarded time-lapse films, and much more. Visit hyperlapseacademy.com for more information. Getting back to the slider. Under the slider we have something different than in Edelkron. Those expandable sliders give you the additional slide when mounted on a tripod. When you want to use it on the ground, it's more problematic. This base, which comes with the Micro2 slider, has legs that allow you to use it on the ground with full-length slide capabilities. It also has a few more features, some of them really useful. On each side of the base we have small wheels that help stabilize the slider. Underneath there is a mount for additional supporters that come with the slider. You mount this to slider and it prevents it from falling over to the side when it reaches the furthest position. The thing is that you mount it on one tripod. It's good to have that option, however I would prefer to have at least one option to mount it on two tripods, so that you can use two weaker ones, not one very strong. Also, having one tripod, I think that I would always have to check the furthest position whether the tripod is falling over or not. With two tripods, it would just always work fine. Unfortunately, there are no tripod threads besides the ball mounts for supporters. One more thing mounted to the legs are small wheels that let you slide your slider when it's on the ground. They are not connected to the motor, you move it by hand. A little weird solution for a slider, but the fact is that it's there doesn't mean I have to use it. One of the best things about this base is something that surprises me. It's a built-in Micro2 plate so you can mount it on any head that uses Micro2 standard. Of course, besides that you have also tripod threads, so you can either mount it directly on the tripod thread or on the tripod head. Such things should be in every slider out there. Now, as we finished talking about the base, let's take a look at the slider itself. It doesn't move by hand when the motor is attached. You would have to probably remove the motor to use it manually. The slider has two options for delivering power to it. The first one is standard NPF batteries, which most of the monitors or small LED lights use, which I like a lot. The battery on the slider could be a little more secured with some button or something, but actually I didn't have a situation where it disconnects yet. Second option is plugging it to the wall with a USB-C port. Of course, it has also a shutter release port, which is a standard micro jack. Zeapon probably forgot to send me the release cable with the package, but the cable from the SIRP device works with the slider too. One thing is that it could be a little longer, but as I said, it's not designed for the slider. I hope the cables that Zeapon provides are longer. We have 3 buttons on the motor. 1 to turn it on and set the speed, and 2 to control the movement. There are 3 speeds to choose with the button on the slider, and it seems enough for me. The coolest thing here is that you can set the waypoints for the slider without even connecting it to the mobile app. You move the slider to one end, set waypoint, move to the other, set the second waypoint, and you can start the movement. You can even set looped movement, which is perfect for interviews. About the speed, it's not the fastest slider in the world. I think my Genie 2 is faster, however I think it's enough for most of the uses. With sliders it's important how you position the foreground and the background to show the parallax effect. When positioned well, even very slow movement can look nice. Great thing about this slider is that it's very silent, so any microphone other than the one mounted on the camera won't grab any sound from it. It's important when you record interviews or any other videos that need real-time sound. One important thing when choosing a slider is to think ahead, especially if you're a time-lapser. You would like to expand your motion control rig in the future to 3-axis movement, so add pan and tilt motor. I love modular solution that let you buy one thing at a time. For now, Zeapon doesn't have any other motor, just a slider, but in the app you can see there is planned pan, tilt and even focus motor. One more thing I always mention when it comes to sliders is if it can move in other directions than just horizontal. When shooting motion control shots other than talking heads, you'll quite quickly find those horizontal slides are a little boring and you want something more. Fortunately, you can use this slider diagonally or vertically. Of course, you'll have to add here the camera and the head weight. You would have to use some additional head to level the camera, as this slider doesn't have any built-in camera leveling feature. The mobile app is pretty good. At first I was a little confused, but after one use it's pretty easy. You can set up to 5 keyframes, set the first one by tapping it, move the carriage with the slider on the screen and tap the second point to add the second keyframe. The yellow area shows the speed of the slider. You can drag it higher or lower. You can see changing time, which represents the duration of the movement. This slider is pre-calibrated, which means that it stops automatically when it reaches the end of the slider. Some sliders need to be calibrated before each use, some, as SIRP, don't have that option at all. In SIRP, I have to watch out not to hit the end of the slider. If you're not careful there, you can break something. Zeapon doesn't have that problem. Now let's move to the time-lapse. The idea in this version of the app is that you set the waypoints in the video mode, just move to the time-lapse tab, there you set an interval and you can record time-lapse. It works differently than in most solutions available. You can set 2 parameters, the interval with exposure time, but it's basically just an interval, and the speed of the slider on the graph. The duration of shooting and the number of pictures is calculated automatically, and I don't like it at all. The speed of the slider here is connected with the speed of the slider in video mode. I mean, you can preview the time-lapse movement before the shot. There is a feature that calculates your time-lapse shot and moves the slider with the same speed that your final time-lapse after assembly will move. And you're limited to the maximum slider speed in video mode when you're shooting time-lapse. When you want to set the whole slider length for the shot and set the maximum speed, it shows about 18 minutes and over 500 pictures. As in time-lapse we shoot frame by frame, the slider could do it faster just taking less pictures. But then you won't be able to preview the final movement because it will be faster than the maximum speed of the slider in video mode. However, I don't really need to preview the movement every time. SERP, for example, gives you warning that the movement is too fast and it's not able to preview it. I don't really see a need to reinvent the wheel here, when a new solution is harder to use. There are workarounds, you can shoot quicker moves in video mode, however choosing very slow speed on the graph is not so easy too. I've already talked to Zeapon about that, and hopefully this will be fixed in the future. For now, it's of course possible to shoot a time-lapse with the slider, but you don't have as much flexibility as professional time-lapser would like to have. In conclusion, this slider is very well made, the build quality looks great, the stability is awesome. There are some cool solutions not available elsewhere. Hopefully soon there will be available motors from pan and tilt axis for the slider, and they will update the time-lapse mode. Then this could be a full replacement for my SERP system. If you're shooting videos, interviews, product videos or such things, this for sure will be an interesting device to consider. And now, thanks to Zeapon, you can get one of their motorized slider for free. I've got Zeapon Micro2 E800 to give away to one of my viewers. And to make more people happy this Christmas, I'll give away 2 lifetime memberships to the Hyperlapse Academy. So another 2 lucky winners will get access to all time-lapse and hyperlapse related lessons on my e-learning platform, including the complete training on using motion control equipment. The rules are very simple. Just comment on this video on YouTube. You can write how you like the Zeapon slider, what's the weather in your city, or what's your cat's name. It doesn't matter, all comments will be used to draw the prize. I'm waiting for your comments until 27th of December. Then, on 29th of December, at 7 PM CET time, I will randomly draw 3 winners on a live stream hosted on my Facebook fan page, Beyond the Time. All the links and rules are in the description. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to join the giveaway and subscribe to this channel.